Hello and welcome back to our diving creature guide for August 2018. This month we had a lot of creatures. Um, Here I am, and as you know, I'm our cameraman and 3 diver Daniel LaRue, reporting for Marine Vet Dam Productions. And this month we did a lot of diving. Mostly at Harbor Beach and Stage Neck. Here's Dan LaRue, our dive partner, who comes with us. We did a lot of diving at Stage Neck and Harbor Beach a couple times this month. And a bunch of the creatures we've seen before reoccur, such as our oyster thief. These creatures are a type of algae that grows in stalks, and they actually form a type of pod called a sailor's eyeball that's filled with liquid. That's how they spread their seeds. We have also seen a lot of eelgrass this month. Eelgrass is a very interesting species, as it is an indicator species detecting the health of the environment along the coastal shores of New England. We also encountered some in the drowned forest in Rye, New Hampshire, which is interesting because we didn't have any knowledge of this before. We encountered a small eelgrass bed. One of our favorite species of seaweed is knotted wrack, as it is one of the most common as well. Some people call this bladder wrack because of the small bladders it uses to keep afloat toward the surface to catch sunlight. Knotted wrack is also an algae, which is a type of protist, a single-celled animal that groups together to form seaweed. We have a new creature called the tunicit. The tunicit is a very interesting creature because they are filter feeders related to sponges. You can see there's white and red tunicit, which is our common species around here. There is also sea stars, which we encounter quite often, especially in the stage neck pool, where they like to hang out around the bottom where the water flows in to maximize their feeding. Sea stars are carnivores. They eat creatures like blue mussels and periwinkles. They will actually avert their stomach out to digest their food to a liquid-like state before eating it. There are echinoderms, which are spiny-skinned animals. This is also the term used in the family that describes sea urchins and sea cucumbers, as well as the sea stars and other creatures in this family. The sea star, as you can see there, has a bunch of feet called tube feet. These are hydraulically powered. They take in water to use those. This is our moon snail, one of the interesting creatures found along the bottom of our sandy shores. They are also a carnivorous species of snail. This is our green crab, one of our most common crab species along the east coast. Although they are not native to the area, the green crab was brought over by Europeans on ships. These creatures compete for food with the native Jonah and rock crabs. Those are the two native species of crabs we have in the area. We also have the Asian shore crab, which is a newer species of crab that is invasive to the area. Green crabs are most active during the evening hours. The cunner is a species of fish. Here we have some juvenile cunners. You can tell they're juvenile by the fake eye spots in the back of the fin and the line running down their body. These disappear as they become adults, and they become a dark blacker in color instead of this brown. The cunner becomes a lot more active at night. You can see a lot more of them then. We have done a couple early morning and night dives this year to demonstrate the differences between the creatures. This is one of our night dives. You can see there's some larger cunners as well as some smaller cunners. The really young ones come out at night, just like the adults. They usually stick near rocks because cunners are a smaller species of fish. They like to dart into the rocks when they feel frightened. Here is our blue mussel. also known as the edible mussel. It is a species of shellfish that clings to the rocks using a special type of adhesive called thistle threads. These are thread-like structures that they use to grip onto the rock, and they are like a hook kelps hold fast that will help them hold on to whatever the surface they are on. This is the Virginia oyster, a common species around the New England coast. A single oyster can filter up to 50 gallons of water during the day. It is a unique species because of this filter feeding ability. Helps to keep the waters along our coast clear. They often cling onto rocks, but doesn't mean they won't be found on sandy substrates. Here's our green sea urchin. The green sea urchin has the longest scientific name of any species alive today, and they are related to sea stars and sand dollars, and they are covered with spiny spines. These are the common periwinkles, one of the most common species of invertebrate along the east coast. They and their relatives, the smooth and rough periwinkles, are also found along the east coast as well. They are herbivores. Here's a new species this month. It's the 12-scaled worm. The 12-scaled worm is a unique species of polychaete worm that grows these segmented scales. They use these for defense. They are often seen at night. They have these legs that they move to pull themselves along the bottom. So they're a surprising species of worm that most people don't know about. They also have powerful jaws, which they can bite really hard with. They're carnivores. They eat smaller species of worms and softer-bodied creatures. Here's our Asian shore crab, one of the newer invasive species along the east coast. They actually originate from Japan, boats coming over from Japan, and they are actually even competing with the non-native green crab as well, and actually have been beating those out. So one invasive species is actually helping to remove another one. But since they are also competing with the green crabs that were before competing with the Jonah and the red crabs, they are also not helping those species out. The sea vase is a species of clear tunicit, one of our new species. They come out, extend themselves at night to feed. They're filter feeders. And here is our Atlantic rock crab, one of the native species of crab along the east coast. Along with the Jonah crab, its bigger relative that is often found in deeper waters. The red rock crab is a fairly common species, unlike the Jonah crab. Here is a daisy brittle star. The daisy brittle star is a species of echinoderm as well. It's basically like a fast-moving sea star. They actually don't have 2 feet. They actually move with their arms, as you can see here. They use their arms to pull themselves along. They're a very fascinating creature, I believe. There's also harlequin brittle stars occasionally as well in the east coast. Next up, we have our rock gunnel. These are the Atlantic rock gunnel. They also have the Pacific rock gunnel in the Pacific Ocean. The rock gunnel is an eel-like species of fish. This is our first one we've gotten this year underwater. They typically become slightly more active when it's dark, so that's why we see them later in the day. The Opossum Trim, we see these a lot. They're a very, very common species related to their relatives, krill. They are very similar in structure. And we have caught a winter flounder this year on camera. Usually winter flounders are very elusive as they blend in with the sand and usually hang out in deeper water. The winter flounder is not a very common species of fish as well, so it's very fun to find them. Here we have one of our favorite species to find along the east coast, the American lobster. It's an icon for the state of Maine because they are a very fish species that are very good to eat. The American lobster is often found in caves, and they become increasingly active at night. The lobster has two types of claws. One is the crusher claw and one is the scissor claw. The crusher claw is used to crush and dismember prey, while the smaller scissor claw is used to tear pieces of meat. Now, these creatures are scavengers as well, so they'll eat dead things along the bottom of the sea. They're very not picky eaters, so they'll eat basically anything that they can find. You can see the two antennae there. They use those to taste. The American lobster is often found in rocky substrates. Very, very rarely you'll find them in sandy substrates. As you can see, they'll eat basically anything. We threw a green crab down there. They are actually pretty fond of green crabs, but only when alive. They don't actually usually go after dead green crabs, which is an interesting thing we discovered this year. As you can see, the American lobster can be held properly on the back of its carapace. The American lobster is a species of crustacean. Crustaceans are one of the largest groups of marine invertebrates. The largest is the mollusks. Crustaceans are one of the most common as well. They can be found in all the world's oceans, from tiny shrimp-like krill to all the larger creatures like the lobsters and the giant spider crabs, which can be found in Japan. They are very unique species. The lobster, because they swim backwards, as you can see there, they flip their tail back, and that allows them to propel themselves backward with the claws facing out of their caves to defend themselves against predators. The American lobster is a very agile species, which is surprising due to their increased size compared to other marine life in the area. The American lobster is a very fascinating creature along the East Coast. And before we go today, I'd like to mention that if you are wanting to go to an event and meet Marine Vet Dan Productions, myself, I will be at the Seacoast Science Center on September 15th during our annual Bio Blitz for this year, and also September 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. for a nighttime tide pooling.
It's only magic. Isn't it amazing when you know? Every second that you see is 24 connected pieces. Thank you for coming, thank you for staying, thank you for